We have a garden space here that has not been used in several years. I'm going to clear the weeds out and rototill it and then plant tomatoes and maybe some other vegetables in here, and I'll record the process of doing it. The first thing I did in here was to walk through the weeds thoroughly, look for any toys, rocks, sprinklers, hoses, just stuff like that, and to make sure that when I till or if I go in and weed eat, that I don't ruin any equipment or injure myself. And so I've got it cleaned out for the most part, and I'm going to start weed eating next. So I've knocked all the weeds down, and now I've spread just a little bit of extra compost that was here. Now, this was not sprayed out, and this particular spot has bindweed, it has white top, and a couple of other noxious weeds. And as the video progresses, I'll show how I'm going to keep those at bay while I am gardening without some spray, so that I can still use this spot that's full of noxious weeds. What I'm doing here is I'm starting to build my furrow to plant tomatoes in, and so it'll actually be a lot bigger when I'm done, but this is the beginnings of my tomato planting system. So what I've done here is form my furrows. I know sometimes on video it can be a little hard to see, but these furrows are approximately 2.5 feet wide, 18 inches tall, and each row is about 12 feet. I'm going to prepare now to put my irrigation in, and then I'll cover it with plastic. After trying to drive a T-post in and having the ground be so hard it wouldn't go, and running into several rocks, I've dug a hole and I filled it with water, and I'm going to let it sit for 2 or 3 days for that water to really soak in. Then I'm going to come back out and try to redrive my T-post. So what I have going on here is that I put some plastic down yesterday and it was extremely windy, so I called it a day because it was just so hard. There's much less wind, and I've just used a rock to hold this down. I'll fold it out and then put dirt on it. So this is called a bulb drill, and I use it to put posts in. It gets caught with the rocks, but if I'm careful, it works okay. This is the twine I'm going to run my tomatoes through. And what I've done is weaved it between the stakes so that I have it going in a kind of a figure-8 pattern around the stakes. And then what I'll do as the tomatoes grow is put the leader and most of the branches up through that twine. It needs to be tight enough, but you don't have to cinch it super tight. But the whole system will hold together when the tomatoes grow just fine. Now I have run my twine. I've got 3 levels that are woven back and forth between the stakes, and as those tomatoes grow up, I'll just keep feeding them through the middle, and when they reach the top line, I'll let them drape back down, and I'll get some natural shading on the tomatoes, and when I pick, I can just lift the vines up and pick the tomatoes from underneath and on the top. This project is mostly done, and there's some things that I should have done a little different. One was checking the drip hose before I covered it in plastic. Fortunately, it seems to work, but it would have been nice to run the hose connected to the drip hose to make sure that there were no leaks or anything in it. And then I also fished most of the rocks I had used to hold the hose in place out through the plastic once the hose was set, and I probably should have just taken them off ahead of time. I'm putting grass clippings down between to hold the weeds down and just so as I walk in there, it'll help save or reduce soil compaction. And then in the fall, when I turn it under, it'll improve the soil. So the initial cost for everything is probably around $75, just either from a hardware store or a box store. And what I have here is I bought 50 feet of 3-foot wide construction grade UV resistant plastic, and then the T-posts, the large ones on the ends and the little ones in the middle. The little ones I think I got for around $3 a piece, and the large ones were around $5 or $6 a couple of years ago. But everything in here will be recyclable except for the plastic, and it's something you can use for years and years. And so I hope this helps, and have a great day.